All right, welcome to the last thing standing between you and lunch. We're going to get into it and keep this moving quickly. The Liberman brothers do not need any introduction. I'm Keli Callaghan. I'm a partner at Arrington Capital, a Web3 hedge fund. I'm pretty irrelevant, except that I've been full-time in crypto for about 9 years now. So we're going to kick it off with something a little more focused on decentralization to kind of contrast the earlier conversation today with Roman about more centralized approaches. So Bitcoin has pulled off something that I think is wildly impressive, and I don't think most people realize it, but they've basically coordinated more compute than the top 3 technology companies around the world, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. And it's done this without a CEO, without a sales team, without contracts, without a kill switch. And we just, use it and we point to hash puzzles and it secures a ledger, which I think in this room is pretty boring and unimpressive. But if you take the Bitcoin analogy, you guys are trying to point that same coordination engine at something more economically productive, if you think about AI inference. And so what if 100% of all that stuff that's been done went into the useful work instead? And so would Bitcoin have done it already, or how does the logic of what Bitcoin has done apply here from a decentralization perspective?
Bitcoin definitely is a great example. It's not only larger than Microsoft or Google, Bitcoin larger than all of them combined. Knowing that, we were inspired that the same principle can be applied for AI. Definitely, AI compute is different. So we won't be able to just take ASICs, which already connected to Bitcoin network, and connect them to AI compute network. But the same principle can be used to actually accelerate AI development and make it possible for AI to ensure that AI will be genuinely accessible to every human on Earth.
And what's important, this is actually already happening right now. So the AI accelerators, AI ASICs, are the category on its own already existing. And even NVIDIA acquired GrokQ, like one of the AI accelerators, like inference accelerators, and integrated this already in the Rubin platform. But then on the market, there are dozens of similar companies focusing on different approaches on how to increase productivity, efficiency of inference and training. It's like different approaches for different direction. And some of them are entering market right now.
How does the AI landscape shift if decentralized compute is successful over any of the other models? Does it commoditize inference? Does it change how hardware is innovated and launched? Does it change anything on open source, or does any of that even matter?
Like a little bit all of that, but a little bit. But probably this is a major point, that this is going to be a little bit all of that. Meaning that on its own, the current oligopoly of a few corporations, we can see this with Microsoft, Google, and Amazon on the cloud. Basically, they're similar. They're like all the same. They copy all each other. So there's almost no difference between the 3 of them, and they basically become the monopoly on themselves as a category, like owning something like almost 70% of all global cloud compute. Like these 3 companies. They're
doing 70% of all of it right now.
Yes, like this is what's crazy. And then the similar pattern follows with AI right now, with like a few companies owning majority of the compute and providing majority of the AI services, AI inference. Appear like existence of an alternative actually can drive them to be a little bit different from what they are themselves. And the alternative can probably not be like 70% on its own, but even if it's 10%, this is already a signal that the market actually understands that there is alternative to the monopolies of this sort, and the monopolies would have to adapt.
And from this perspective, in Gonka network, inference of Minimax right now is 100 times cheaper than any provider on open
Do you think
router.
most people realize that, though?
No,
Not yet.
It will take time. It will take time. I think that a lot of folks are skeptical about crypto. Mostly they believe it's about.
Oh, you just called it crypto.
Yes, it's about pump and dumps, NFTs, and things like that. But we actually think that through the last years, this changed a lot, especially because all of these AI hyperscalers realized that the best data centers are actually in hands of
X crypto
Bitcoin mining
markets.
companies. That's why companies like Cypher Mining or Hut 8, which were pure Bitcoin mining companies before, they went to being like $10 billion companies just overnight. The same, we believe, also will drive the development of hardware. So you heard, Roman, that currently data centers, they are not as fast to add ASICs to their data centers because it's easier to send NVIDIA GPUs. It's just per hour, it's standard, everyone will pay the same amount. So for most of the data centers, they right now reluctant. They will wait for customers to request them to have this new type of hardware in place. With Bitcoin mining, what it shows that when there is a protocol, and protocol is pure meritocracy. So if you build better hardware, you win.
You earn more coins.
You earn more. And that's
You're talking about Gonka specifically.
It's
every
Bitcoin specific. Like the Bitcoin is a financial framework. This is a principle. The higher the output of the terahashes in the Bitcoin, the higher the chances of you earning Bitcoin. We just applied the same principle. The higher the output of AI tokens from your system, from your node inside of the Gonka network, the higher is amount of the Gonka coins you earn as a miner.
So with the hardware, right now with Gonka, who's running the hardware?
it's
if you
hundreds of
Mystery.
people around the world connected.
So very similar to the organic early innings.
This is every Singapore, Dubai, Luxembourg, UK,
Finland,
Argentina,
United States.
Finland, United States, like everywhere in the world. It started with miners, like professional miners, those who actually knew and like could have risked a little bit to see, because the miners right now have the demand on AI. Obviously, they're like looking at AI as a fastest growing category, and they're like, can we do AI crypto bad somehow? They're for BitTensor, they're VVV, they're like Venice, they're like a lot of Akash and other projects are out there just because there is a demand for that. Our point was mainly if we will be able to attract capital from this industry on their rules, this can become a framework for financing an actual infrastructure, which will be actually providing AI services to the world. Decentralized way in terms of like equality, accessibility, and all of the principles of driving the cost down rather than like market pressure, the real market pressure to actually attract better hardware and like better service providers.
Yeah, you don't have to sell me. I'm good. I'm following. But what do you think the hardest challenge is for decentralized compute on it right now? Like, do you think you brought up it's 100 times less expensive? Do you think it's just people don't understand, they don't trust it, service level agreements that they're used to? Like, walk me through what the challenges are right now.
There are multiple
challenges. First, this network compete with those trillion-dollar companies, which can come to a data center and just buy out everything which is on the shelf. And our miners being smaller, they need to compete with this demand. Like, for example, some of our miners used Nebius compute and still use Nebius compute. But when Meta came, it started to be more challenging to get more compute from this network. Step by step, still we managed to grow to 3,000 H200 equivalents, which is great scale. It's larger than any previous attempt with decentralized AI compute, so larger than BitTensor or others. Another challenge that people are skeptical, they haven't used to have good service out of decentralized networks, which
Usually
actually
the expectation is like there will be latency. People say like it's decentralized, it's not a data center, there will be latency. But the trick is majority of the hardware in Gonka network right now actually in the data centers. So the individual server on its own actually as accessible in terms of ping and latency as any other service provider, Meta or Microsoft or whoever. The trick though is that because the model on its own, right now the time to first token is still in seconds, usually for the majority of the service providers. The latency in hundreds of milliseconds is negligible. So there will now be some significantly visible additional latency for the decentralized network. And people don't expect this, don't understand this. They're like, it cannot be.
Moreover, if you look at Open Router right now, it's actually quite significant amount of tokens already produced by decentralized network, but people just don't know. Like
They see a line provider and like Chutas. Chutas is a decentralized provider.
I would say that it's only a matter of time.
Before we appear on the Open Router and people get used to the fact that we're there and just they can use it.
Somewhere in the next 2 to 18 months. I love it. Why do you think decentralized compute is better for a builder than some of the alternatives out there, and beyond cost? I guess.
Because we talk a lot with many founders who right now build their apps or their services based on centralized APIs. All of them afraid that at some moment when those...
Not just afraid, seriously concerned, and not at some moment right now.
That at some moment they will be just cut off of access.
Are there examples of that happening in like recent time?
You know,
or is it just a threat?
What we see already, and so we see multiple examples, when the frontier labs decide not to release their model or give this model only to selected companies to access. And everyone knows that if you have access to a frontier model, like the newer version of the model, you kind of lagging behind compared to, so if you have access, you can be faster than those who don't. Everyone on the market right now, even though they're excited how the AI can bring growth to their own services, but at the same time, they constantly afraid that they will get the competition out of the frontier labs, and their products will be severely damaged in terms of customer base because of that.
We can see it already. Like the coding with Cursor being challenged by the Cloud Code itself, Codex, etc. What's like the windsurf with Google, the anti-gravity. Then the design of product, Figma, Canva is right now all really concerned on what's going on with the spread product category. The legal and financial are following, we all know that. So the product after product, and it's not small startups, we're talking about billion-dollar companies who are really concerned. Like, the founders of Notion already came to us, just because like I was among the earliest beta testers of their product, so we were friends. They're investor in some of the founders. Some of the founders are investors in some of our companies. So like we had this long relationship with them, and at some point they came to us saying like, "Are you ready? Like, is your product ready? Because we want to try. Because we're seriously concerned about Anthropic taking over our own business. So we need to try the open source models."
So the fact that the network is permissionless, so no one can block.
Well, there's
you
also the censorship, right? And
so the
whether
censorship,
that's government or
exactly, permissionless. What's the word? Censorship. We already said that. But then also the immutability aspect of the decentralization is also important. Like when you exactly know that you will get the result you expected, not the one which might have been modified by some internal policy, not necessary to harm you, but some internal policy which actually can harm your business from different perspectives, just because let's say, they have their own internal policies on how psychological advices can or cannot be given and this actually affects your startup, which is providing psychological support to your users. Like all of this stuff. Like this is actual example of people who are discussing this. So like as their startups being blocked by the internal
and worry
policies
whatever
of,
country you might be in. Like
exactly
on
all of
larger,
that. All of this. So like.
But also we saw quite a bit of demand from different governments around the world. Daniil, we just last month had a meeting with minister from Singapore. And they are concerned because they also afraid that they will be locked from access, and they want to have the alternatives. They want to have this freedom.
And they would rather not build their own Singapore centralized XYZ. They would rather do something that's more exposed and open to the rest of the world.
And you know, like 2 years ago, we met with some of the government officials, and their point of view was that they will just build their own sovereign AI. It was the subject in most of the conversations like that. Now they clearly see that alone they cannot compete. That and when they hear these opportunities that they can be part of something greater, they can be part of the network which is built by all the nations around the world, they actually pretty excited that this can allow them to ensure that the access for their governmental services and things like that will be always available, and no one will be able to challenge that.
Switching gears slightly, you're both builders. You've done many things over the course of your career. You've never done a token project. At our fund, we've historically, the fund is 8 or 9 years old now, and we've invested majorly in tokens, and more recently a little bit of equity. How do you think about token project, having not done that before?
You know, we very early on, we were into the decentralized ledgers and networks. Like we tried to build our own.
So something in the back of your head when you were designing this anyway.
Yes. Like we were reading all the articles on the DigiCash, and like all of these ideas actually was in our mind just because we had all of the strange ideas that how can we fight corruption worldwide with transparent government ledgers of every expenses, all of this stuff. So like we looked at this through this prism for all these years. Then when crypto appeared, some aspect of crypto was concerning to us. I mean, yes. I mean,
what? You don't say.
but then the aspect which we are trying to harness right now is a particular aspect of the proof of work, infrastructural,
Do you call Gonka
framework.
proof of work?
Yes.
Yes. Like we consider Gonka proof of work. The work, though, is not the production of the hashes and not the production of the proofs of the compute, but the compute itself.
Proof of compute.
Proof of compute, in this sense, yes. But we specifically say like proof of compute is trying to invent a new category, sort of. What we say is a proof of work, because work is done. You have to do the work, and unless you do the work, and you cannot not do the work, your node must be present 24 hours a day, and then if the request from the API user getting towards your node, if you don't execute the request, you are done. You are not getting the reward for the entire day. Therefore, it's work. Like it's less about the compute per se. Like it is compute, which needed, but the work is not just in compute. It's in accessibility and speed and the model there, like all of this.
But at the same time, it's quite a new experience for us. I should admit. Before that, we built conventional companies. You know, in conventional companies, you have hierarchy. You can like force people to do stuff.
You can fire people. You can hire people. Not right now.
Not in this world,
not in this
right?
world.
No,
yes,
no,
right.
It's a community, a lot of opinions, and everyone fights, and everyone like, and it's actually quite beautiful. Even so, it is challenging, but it is quite beautiful. When we only started this product and we published it on GitHub, and a group of first miners gathered, and it was launched. Many advisors told us that it would be much better to have some sort of a control, you know, like killer switch, or like some sort of control, so that we can affect somehow voting and things like that. And we were like, no, we're doing it like
So
the
Gonka
real
has no
way.
kill switch, no
no
nothing.
kill switch.
Yeah, the trick is not only the kill switch, no control from the founder's side.
I believe, I might be wrong, but I believe your mechanics are very similar to Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Except we have the automatic on-air update, but the community must vote for every update. So the miners, based on their compute power, this is a measure of the vote inside of the voting process. And us ourselves are not in there. So like the trick is we ourselves positioned ourselves as the creators, not the founders and owners of the protocol. And we believe this is really important for such project. If we want this to actually become the next Bitcoin, not in the sense of the huge capitalization and stuff like this, but largest compute network consuming more electricity than the three largest cloud compute combined, then it must be decentralized, and people must trust that there are no one behind it. Like the governments won't be able to come and kill us, and that's it. There is no project or something like this. I'm just joking about this, but
I love this. I think this is fantastic. You're kind of fulfilling the promise of at least why I got into decentralized tech going back 9 years ago. Like you're fulfilling what it really means to be a part of something that's decentralized, that's providing something useful with economic value, and I think it's amazing. 2 questions for you to tie this off. One, what do you think has to change for decentralized compute to go from sort of the experiment that it is today to more mainstream? And then what do you think if you could point to one thing, what is it, and what do you think the timing is on that?
First is ASICs. So we expect that first ASICs will be connected to a Gonka network this month.
not this month, July. I mean,
Next,
summer.
close,
Next
coming
month.
Yes,
soon.
and another bunch of ASICs will be connected this autumn. And what we want this network to show, that this network not only will be a marketplace between existing hardware and the consumers, but that it actually will drive this innovation forward. In Bitcoin network, ASICs improved 10 times every year. 300,000 times improvement in both cost and energy efficiency in 15 years. Nothing like that we've seen ever in hardware world. You heard hardware world usually slow, but Bitcoin tokenomics, proof of work tokenomics, proved that we can do it differently. And that's what we want to demonstrate, that with first ASICs, we expect that our models will give more than like 300 tokens per session, AI tokens per session for every developers. Nothing like that available right now on OpenRouter or anything like that. Because ASICs, they will be just genuinely better. It's true that currently NVIDIA dominates because of the CUDA, because CUDA is a protocol everyone gets used to. But what Bitcoin showed that if you created a protocol and this protocol becomes standard, then hardware developers can innovate with enormous speed. And this will be, we believe that as soon as people realize that it won't be just about being a marketplace, but being a center of innovation for hardware, then it will be obvious that this network will be with millions of ASICs, which will be like millions, like dozens of millions GPUs in the network.
There's another angle to that as well, is that from the very beginning, like we honestly 3 years ago, like before we switched to what Gonka is, we started research on, between us, we started research on if the training of models possible to be done in the decentralized network. And we saw that there's a possibility there, but a lot of development need to be done. So what we then planned and seeded inside of the Gonka protocol is that 20% of the network's value will be directed towards training of open source models. So people usually ask us, can I train my models on top of Gonka network? No, you cannot. You can use the Gonka network as an inference through the API, but then training is a public domain on top of this network. So 20% of the network's capacity is reserved for scientists, academia, all over the world to actually finally have the capacity, the compute capacity, when the network is in millions of GPUs equivalent, the network will be able to compete with the frontier models by actually designing completely, full stack open source, like the data set, the principles, the trainer, the weights of the model, all of this completely open source, and all of your pre-context and everything open source, everything open. Trained on top of this network and then put back to the network to be provided, to be served, inferenced to the users. Like, this is where we believe as soon as we will get to this stage, this is already like a new category on the market, completely compete, like getting the full circle, the full loop of repeating what the other frontier laboratories are.
Amazing, fascinating stuff. Thank you both very much. Thank you, Marina and David. And I believe lunch is next, so it's outside. Thank you.